For those of you at home, this might be a little slow moving for you, but that's good because while you're waiting on us to cut and paste, you can write this in your journal. The first thing we're going to do is making a fraction equal to 1. And you can go ahead and copy this down and the blank there. Draw your blank so that you'll be ready to write when we go over it. Foster, just go around the edge of it, son. Now, all you're supposed to be cutting out is that first one. Make a fraction equal to 1. And you're supposed to paste it down. So let's talk about this for a minute. If I want to make a fraction that's equal to 1, what does that fraction look like? What does that fraction look like? Turn and talk to your neighbor. Class. How do I make a fraction equal to 1, Bryson?
You have to have the same numerator and the same denominator.
Any fraction that has the same numerator what's a numerator? What's the numerator, Jaden? The top number. And denominator is the bottom number. Is equal to 1. So if I multiply 5 times 2 over 2, it's the same thing as multiplying by 1. It'd be 5, right? But we use these forms of 1 to be able to simplify fractions or to be able to make a bigger fraction to get a denominator we need. Okay? So some examples of a form of 1, and I write a 1 like this. So it looks like a big bold 1. And that way I know to say a form of 1. Because I know the value of this fraction is going to be 1. I'm drawing 10 of them. And I'm going to write right here a form of 1. Because you're going to hear me say that over and over and over. A form of 1. A form of 1. Okay, so give me an example of a form of 1. Caleb? 1 over 1. What's another one, Maddie? 3 over 3. What's another one, Aiden? What's another one, Thomas? What's another one, Blake? What's another one, Forrester? Huh? 2 over 2. Carson? Jaden. Don't get any bigger than that. Good grief. Whew. Law, I just said not to get bigger. Kirsten? Not I guess. Be confident. Bryson?
99 over 99.
Okay. Those are all forms of 1. When you get finished copying that, I want you to get turning a whole number into a fraction. That's the next one we're going to do. Does anybody have questions about a form of 1?
Is there any numbers in like that can't be turned into an equal fraction for them?
No, as long as you put the same number on the top and the same number on the bottom. Because what does that middle line mean? It means divide. 1 divided by 1 is, 3 divided by 3 is, 6 divided by 6 is 1, 5 divided by 5 is 1, 10 divided by 10 is 1. So remember, when we think of it as divided by, 9 divided by 9 equals 1. That equals 1. It's a form of 1. Now we're going to talk about turning a whole number into a fraction. Turning a whole number into a fraction. Remember, now would be a good time for you at home to copy this down. Leave the blanks. To turn any whole number into a fraction, put that whole number as the blank and put a blank for the denominator. To turn any whole number into a fraction, put that whole number as the what? Numerator, which is the top number, and put a what for the denominator? If I want to turn 8 into a fraction, I would make it be 8 over, no, what? I want the answer to be 8. It's 8, and I want it to be a fraction. Remember, that middle line means divided by. 8 divided by what equals 8? 8 divided by what equals 8?
64.
8 divided by what? I didn't say 64 divided by 8 equals 8. I said 8 divided by what equals 8?
64.
No, 1. You put a 1 for the denominator. There will be times when you have to turn a whole number into a fraction. To be able to do that, you put the whole number as the numerator and then put divided by 1, or 8 over 1. Let's look at another example. What if I want to make 2 be a fraction? How do I turn 2 into a fraction, Ashlyn? How do I turn 2 into a fraction? Homer, 2 over 1. Why? Because that line means what? Divide. 2 divided by 1 equals 2. Okay, my next example is 18. How do I turn 18 into a fraction, Thomas? 18 over 1. Who can explain why that works? Maddie?
Because the line is divided.
So 18 divided by 1 equals 18. Is that starting to settle in? What if I wanted 7? Talk to your neighbor about how to make 7 into a fraction. And I want to hear you explain it. Okay, 7 over 1 because the line means, so it really is 7 equals 7. Okay, I want you and your partner to come up with 3 more examples that I didn't do. 3 more examples right here underneath. Stay away from big numbers. Okay, I'm going to take one from each group. Blake, what did your group come up with? Huh? 20 over 1 equals what? 20. Okay, Troy, what did y'all come up with?
60 over 1.
Equals what?
60.
Okay, what'd you come up with, Foster?
16 over 1.
16 over 1 equals 16. What'd you come up with, Jaden? Y'all like to play with big numbers. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Y'all got it.
Wait, do we have to write it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now, fraction times 0. If you can get this at the bottom of this page, that would be great. If you don't have room, that's fine too. Just go to the next page. Because we won't be writing much on this one. I need somebody to tell me, before you can multiply a fraction by 0, you must turn the 0 into a fraction. No, you don't have to. You don't have to. Somebody tell me a multiply by 0 rule. Y'all should know this from 3rd grade. What's my times 0 rule? Lydia, what's my times 0 rule? Okay. Now I could turn 0 into a fraction, but I don't want to. Just don't even write that. Write this. 1/2 times 0. What's 1/2 times 0? 2/3 times 0. 5/4 times 0. That's it. I think Miss Hussey tried to stymie me right then. I'm not going to make it hard. I just need you to remember that if you see anything times 0, it equals 0.
It's always
What?
With zeros, you said another thing. Could you mark out the 0 and then divide it? No. I remember you saying something about you could mark out the 0.
During morning work?
No, not with the divide, but with multiply. You said mark out zeros and then add the two numbers in front. So you have like 50 and 6.
Yeah, but that's not multiplying. Don't mix up our skills here. I'm just multiplying by straight 0. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Just 0. Why you got that thing wheeled out so far?
Oh my
Homer P. Fig.
He did that last year.
Well, he's going to stop doing it today. Okay, flip.
Do we use the back of it or?
If you need the back, if you're at the back of it, I'm at a new page. So it just depends on where you are. I will give you time to catch up. So if you're behind, fine. You can always refer back to the video later too, but I will flip this back over in a minute. If you're watching at home, you can just pause it where you need to. Fraction times 1. You can turn the fraction into the 1, but I got an easier way. I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm saying I got an easier way. Somebody tell me your 1 rule.
Any number times 1 is that number.
Okay. So a number times 1 does not change. So, for example, if I have 1/3 times 1, what is it? 1/3. And I'm going to show you out to the side what Miss Hussey means. I'm going to use 1/3 again. 1/3 times 1/1, which is what? What's 1/1? It's 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Did it change? But it's just easier for me to leave it alone. 2/5 times 1 equals 2/5. 8/7 times 1 is 8/7. Now 8/7 is improper, but we'll pray about that later. The last thing you need to get in your journal is fraction times a fraction. And that is where we're headed, my friends. Well, I hope so. Well, good. A fraction times a fraction. You're going to need Let's do yellow and blue. You're going to need yellow and blue for this. But keep your pencil ready. For those of you copying at home, wait on this for a minute and just copy this top part. We'll fill in the blank. Then you can pause it as needed to get the bottom part. Because this will not be the only example we do. Yellow, blue and yellow make green. This is your art lesson for the day. Well, you have art tomorrow. But we have art right now. Blue and yellow make green. Red and yellow make. Blue and red make. Okay. That's free. I gave you that for free. I don't need any extra pay for that. Okay. Blue and yellow it is. All right. One way to multiply fractions is by using an area model. And that's where we're going to start. We're just going to draw a diagram. The denominator will tell you how many pieces to break the model into. The denominator will tell you how many pieces to break the model into. The numerator will tell you how many pieces to color in. Remember, the denominator is the bottom number, and the numerator is the top number. So, for example, and I want you to pay very close attention. We're going to do 1/3 times 1/2. I have my first, just ignore the half. I have 1/3 across the top. So I drew a rectangle and I cut it into 1, 2, 3 pieces. Okay? Is everybody with me? And I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to shade 1/3 of this rectangle. In a minute when we draw our own, it'll be better for you to see. But this is to get us started. Okay, I did it. Now, it don't have to be perfect, but if I looked at that, that would be 1 out of 1, 2, 3. Does everybody see that? Then I'm going to pretend like 1/3's gone for a minute, and I'm going to do 1/2, but I'm going to cut it this way. So if I cut it this way, I've cut it into 2 pieces, and I'm going to start here, and I'm going to shade 1/2. But this time I'm shading blue. Now where blue and yellow overlap, what happens? It turns green. I'm going to give you a minute to get caught up. Zig, you need help over there? Now to find out what the answer to 1/3 times 1/2 is, I want to look for the numerator at where do we overlap. So where did it turn green? How many little boxes are green? Just tell me. 1. And the denominator tells me how many pieces there are total. So how many pieces are there total? 6. So 1/3 times 1/2 is 1/6.
Okay.
Now I'm going to give everybody a minute to get that down. And then we're going to flip over on the back and we're going to play a little bit. We're going to have art class. Now you can do this with colors that mix. So anytime I tell you to draw a model like this, you could use yellow and blue, you could use red and yellow, or you could use red and blue. But I like yellow and blue because the light color helps it stand out better. And if you do yellow first, it always makes that pop on my paper anyway. Like I can really see that green. Eli, are you with us or are you somewhere else? We need to be right here. This is where we need to be. Okay. We're going to do some examples. So get ready. I'm going to do a couple with you and then I'm going to let you do one and I'm going to go over it. So the first one, let's do 2/3 times 1/4. 2/3 times 1/4. So I'm going to take my pencil. And the first thing I'm going to do is draw 2/3. I'm going to put it on the top. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. And I'm going to split it into how many pieces? 3. So that's like, you just got to kind of guess here. You draw 2 lines to make 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. Law, have you done it? How many am I going to shade? I'm going to shade 2. And I'm going to go in with my yellow. Miss Coco's wild today. Okay, I did 2/3. Now I'm going to go back with my pencil on this side, and I'm going to write my other fraction 1/4. So when I do fourths, what I do is I cut, see with the lines it helps, but I cut it in half, and then I cut the half in half to make fourths. How many fourths am I going to color blue? 1/4. So I'll just go up here to the top and start. And I don't color it all the way in. I like for that yellow to shine through. And I get here and I do 1/4. All the way across would be 1/4. Eli, if I see you on your computer again, we're going to have a problem. Oops. So right here, thank you. I'm going to draw my fraction line. And I'm looking for how many are both colors. How many are both colors? 2. These 2 are green. How many total boxes are there? There's 3, 6, 9, 12. So 2 out of 12. So 2/3 times 1/4 is 2/12. Now we haven't learned simplifying yet this year, but we have done it a little bit. So how do I simplify a fraction? Bryson?
You see, well, whatever you see what the factors are that can go in both numbers.
Okay. And I divide by a form of 1. And didn't we just talk about what forms of 1 are? So what will go into 2 and 12? 2 will. 2 divided by 2 is 12 divided by 2 is 1/6. Now I will show you something. If I take 2 blocks right here, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Is anybody seeing a trend or a pattern in how this works? Let's do another one and see if we can figure out a trend of how to get these answers without having to draw a picture. What if I did 1/4 times 1/2? Okay, so I'll do a 1/4 on top. Cut it in half and cut the halves in half. And with my yellow, I will color 1/4. I always just go to the first block here because I don't want my work to be all over the place. Then I'll come over here and I'll do a half going this way. And I'll get my blue and go back in there and shade a half. How many blocks are green? 1. How many total blocks are there? 8. So 1/4 times 1/2 equals 1/8. Foster, you need to stay on task. What?
Yeah, I know how to make that easier.
How?
For the top number, whatever number it is, just divide, times that, or the numerator by the second numerator, you get your answer, and then the denominator, times that.
You better make sure it works every time. Let's do another example. I did one with like this, a different numerator. Let's try it. Let's do different numerators and see if it works every time. Let's do 3/4 times 2/3. Bryson's onto a theory here. But if we're going to make a rule, then it has to work every time. So across the top, we'll do 3/4. Cut it in half again. Now, how many of those columns, these are columns up and down, how many columns am I going to have to color? 3 out of the 4. 1, 2, 3. And over here, we're going to do 2/3. I don't want that to get confused. So I'm going to split it into thirds. And how many rows? Rows are horizontal. How many rows am I going to shade in? 2. It'll pick back up in a minute. So let's count how many are green. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's count how many are there all together. 3, 6, 9, 12. 6 out of 12.
You can simplify that to 1/2.
I can, but I want to see if what you said works. He says 3/4 times 2/3 is 6/12, which is what we got here. Now let's divide 6/12 by a form of 1 to get something. What will go into 6 and 12? 2 will. Anything else? 6 and 3. So what number should I use? I should use 6 because that's the biggest number that'll go into both of them. I want to pick the biggest number that'll go into both of them. 6 divided by 6 is 12 divided by 6 is 2. What's this? 12 divided by 6 is 2. 6 is half of 12. Halves are easy to see to me, but you just got to get there.
It could just be luck with that number.
Luck?
Yeah.
What could?
The 2 and the 3 and the 3 and the 4.
2
Like
and
so the
3.
numbers, like the 3 times the 2 equals 6 and the 4 times the 3 equals 12.
Okay, well, what's this? 1 times 1 equals 1. 4 times 2 equals 8. 2 times 1 equals 3 times 4 equals
12.
1 times 1 equals 1. 3 times 2 equals. Is Bryson right? Are y'all feeling pretty confident about that? Well, let me try. I'm going to do one, and you don't have to write it down because it's going to be big. I want to try it with like some, just pick a random something and let me do that. So let's do 5 out of 11 times 4 out of 7. Because that's like some random, like,
Yeah, that's a random number as you know, fraction.
it's not like we're using these little numbers that play good together. 7 and 11 don't play good together. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stuff like this is hard to draw. 5, 6, 7. Okay, there's 7 columns. And how many should I shade?
4.
4 out of 7. Yellow.
That's a lot.
I'll try to shade them fast.
That's what I do.
That's kind of cool with the blue lines on the paper. It kind of makes the yellow green
Yep.
because of the blue line.
Okay, so there's 4 sevenths. Is everybody good with that?
Yes.
Now I have to do 11. And lucky me, I counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And how many of those are blue?
Fine.
5. Okay, now
That's a little
this is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 8, 12. How many? 16, 20. Are you sure? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 over. This is, how many is this? 7. And 7 is how many? 14. That means that's 14. That means that's 14. That's 14. That's 14. And that's 11. 14 and 14 is 28. 28. 25. 28 and 28 is 56. And 25 is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I must not have done something right. 7 and 7 is 14. 7 and 7 is 14. 14. 14. 14. 11. 25. 28 and 28. 16.
Do you think it's because not all of them are blue?
Huh?
Do you think it's because not all of them are blue?
28. We must have misadded.
No.
We've misadded somewhere.
Yeah, that should be 88.
No, it shouldn't be 81. 14 and 14 is 28. And 28. That's 40, 56. 66. I know. I said this is 11. Good grief. 14 and 7's how much?
21.
Now we're cooking with peanut oil. See why I don't like drawing these big pictures?
Because it confuses you a lot.
Well, good grief. I don't like these big old pictures. That's 7. I said it was 11. This is 11. This is 7. Good gracious. So this is 21, 56, and 21. Now let's try that. 77. 20 over 77. 4/7 times 5/11 equals 20 over 77. So if Bryson's right, then all we have to do is multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators.
That's a lot easier.
Yeah, that is really
Is that easier than drawing all these pictures?
Yes.
But do you need to be able to know if you see one of these pictures? Yeah. But like, see how easy it was for me? Like, I just in a hurry said this down here was 11 and it threw me off so wrong. And I could have got that wrong. But I already knew that what Bryson was saying was right. So when I got 81, I said, that ain't right, because I knew that it had to be 77. So then I had to go down through here and find my mistake. And that's what I'm telling you. When we rush, like I was, we get careless. And I put 11 instead of 7. But then I found my mistake. 7/11 equals 77. So, does it work? Yes. It's actually easier too. So let's look. You got some blank space. Let's look. Let's do 1/2 times 1/2. And I do this in my head when we're splitting up the figures. I'll say cut the halves in half. And you'll get what? If you cut the halves in half, you get 4ths. Because 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4. So if you have the halves, you get 4ths. Now I'm going to teach you a little story that goes with this. 1/2 of Mr. Bess's class wore tennis shoes. How do you spell it? Tennis? Is it?
Yeah. It's like tennis ball, but then instead of ball shoes.
Tennis shoes.
Would you learn something new?
1/2 of Mr. Bess's class wore tennis shoes. 1/2 of the kids wearing tennis shoes had a red shirt. How many students had tennis shoes and red shirts. Here's how. 1/2 of 1/2 is 1/4. 1/2 of, what does of mean? No, it means times. 1/2 of 1/2 means times. And 1/2 times 1/2 equals 1/4.
Yeah, what about 1/4 of 1/4?